Hey guys, I'm Mandy Bachman with Team Wilson Combat, and today I'm sitting with Bill Wilson, and we're going to be discussing the development of the 300 HAMR. Good morning, Bill.
Good morning, Mandy.
So Bill, what led to your quest to develop the ultimate 30 caliber AR-15 cartridge?
Well, first, as you know, since we spend a lot of time together shooting and socializing and things like that, I'm kind of an old guy now. And as you get older, you realize that, rifles that are shorter and lighter and all that, are much more attractive to you than big, heavy guns. I mean, I know a lot of the trend these days is a lot of long-range stuff, and, like your husband Cody's got that rifle that his optic system weighs more than my entire rifle, And so I do a lot of spot and stalk type hunting, and when you're carrying a rifle a lot, it's important for it to not be so heavy. And so to do that, you need to stick with the AR-15 platform. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love my WC-10 rifles in 308, 358, 338 Federal, stuff like that, but they're bigger and heavier. And so I wanted a ranch rifle that I could keep in the mule and use every day, and that was based on an AR-15 size platform. In terms of Wilson Combat, that's our WC-15 platform, to keep it small and light. But I needed more performance than what you could get out of the Blackout or the 6.8 SPC or the 5.56 or any of those calibers. And 30 caliber is kind of America's caliber. That's what's most popular in America as far as hunting rifles are concerned. So, I knew it needed to be a 30 cal. So the quest was, how am I going to get more performance out of a standard AR-15 platform that uses a standard 5.56 bolt, and shoot a 30 caliber bullet. And so that was kind of, how it all started. That was kind of the parameters. I want to use an AR-15 size gun. I want to use a 5.56 bolt. I want it to be 30 caliber, but I want it to exceed anything that's on the market.
So Bill, what were the performance goals when you started the 300 HAMR project?
Well, the original goal, Mandy, was to push a 125 grain bullet to 2450, a 130 grain bullet to 2400 feet per second, and a 150 grain bullet to 2200 feet per second. That was my original goal when I started. As it turned out, we eventually, developed the cartridge and found the proper propellant and all that stuff, that we exceeded those goals by 50 to 100 feet a second, over the original goal. So, which dramatically gives it more terminal performance than a 6.8 SPC or a 7.62 by 39, and dramatically exceeds what the 300 Blackout will do with the same bullet weight range.
What bullet weights is the 300 HAMR designed to perform best with?
For optimal performance, 110 grain to 135 grain, okay? But there are bullets on the market that will work very well with it from 110 grain up to 150 grain. And the cartridge is not at all designed for subsonic. It's not designed to compete with the 300 Blackout on, with subsonic rounds or stuff like that. So really the maximum bullet weight you can shoot in it is, Hornady makes a 160 grain, I think it's called an FTX, and that's pretty much your maximum bullet weight. And that's due to the length of the cartridge case, and also that's due to the twist of the barrel. I mean, if you go heavier than that, it's not going to stabilize the bullet. So, like I say, again, it's not a subsonic cartridge. If you want to shoot heavy subsonic bullets, you need to get the 300 Blackout. If you want optimum performance with bullets in the 110 to 150 grain range, then you might consider the 300 HAMR.
So Bill, I know you've spent months and months on this project. You've shot thousands of rounds. I've seen a lot of the evidence myself out there when you're working on all this. What's made this project so important to you?
Well, as you know, you've been here helping me on some of it, on some of the terminal bullet performance stuff, and we've missed a lot of shooting weekends due to me working on this project, and that sort of thing. Basically, there's three reasons. Number one, I like to feel like this cartridge has a real benefit. It's like it fits a niche that no other cartridge does. And so I feel strongly that it's a sound concept. So that's the main thing. Secondly, I like a challenge. And boy, trust me, developing this thing has been a major challenge. There's been a whole lot of ups and downs on this project here. I think, well, we got everything all figured out, and then it hit another roadblock and all that kind of stuff. So it's been a lot of development time, on the deal. And then one of the other reasons is when I started this project, I had very little support up at the company on this. Most of the management level people up there were basically opposed to this project, thought it was, I was going to spend way too much time on it, I was going to use up too much company resources on it, and that sort of thing. So quite a bit of satisfaction now that it's all kind of coming together, and now I've got a lot of support at the company. It's like, wow, this is pretty cool, Where early on it was like, Bill, just another one of Bill's pet projects, So kind of that's pretty much the reason there.
I know a lot of people are going to wonder this. So what does the 300 HAMR do that the 300 Blackout can't?
Well, Mandy, that's a really easy question there. Basically, you're going to gain, with a 125 grain bullet, you're going to gain 300 feet a second and 400 foot-pounds of energy, and it's going to shoot much flatter, and to get that performance, the trade-off you're given is you won't be able to shoot subsonic bullets in it. But if you want optimal performance with that 110 to 135 grain bullet range, then the HAMR is the way to go. 300 feet a second gain and 400 foot-pounds of energy gain is not insignificant, And then at 200 yards, I think the drop is like 3 inches less, so it's significant, on the trajectory also.
So how does the 300 HAMR compare to the 7.62 by 39?
Doesn't have quite as much performance gain as it does over the Blackout, but I think it's 150 foot a second, gain and a couple hundred foot-pounds of energy gain over the 7.62 by 39. And the big advantage over that cartridge is that it works with a 5.56 bolt, so you can easily convert any AR-15 to 300 HAMR. And the 7.62 by 39, due to its extreme taper to the case, is kind of hard to get to feed in some of the AR-15 platform guns. And so reliability-wise, the 300 HAMR is much more reliable functionally than the 7.62 by 39.
So Bill, how does the 300 HAMR compare to the 6.8 SPC?
First off, it's 30 caliber instead of 270 caliber. And when it comes to hunting, I've always believed that bigger is always better. And so having a 308 diameter bullet instead of a 277 diameter bullet, you're already starting off ahead ballistically. It doesn't shoot quite as flat as a 6.8, so that's a negative for the 300 HAMR, but it hits with a lot more authority when it impacts. So terminal performance, it's substantial improvement over the 6.8 SPC. But you give up just a little bit in trajectory on it.
So if someone asked you, how does the 300 HAMR compare to the legendary 3030? People are bound to ask, what would you say?
Okay. Well, actually, that's how the project started off. The original prototype stuff, when we started, we actually called this caliber a 3030 AR, and the goal was to be able to duplicate 30-30 ballistics out of an AR-15. Later on we ended up, due to my son Ryan's suggestion, we ended up changing the name. But that was the original goal, was to equal the 30-30, which with a 150 grain bullet, we've managed to do that. Out of a comparable barrel length, with a 150 grain bullet, we can equal the legendary 30-30 ballistics.
So I understand you've been getting incredible accuracy with this particular cartridge. Is this true, and what would you attribute to this?
Well, Mandy, that's been one of the biggest bonuses of the entire project. We knew we wanted it to be as accurate as our other calibers and that sort of thing. But early on in the project, I decided, well, I'm going to go the extra mile. I'm going to test all these different barrel twists and number of grooves in the barrel and stuff like that. If we're going to put this much effort into it, let's make sure we've optimized the accuracy potential of the cartridge. And so we thoroughly tested 1 in 11 twist barrels, 1 in 11 1/4 twist barrels, 1 in 12 twist barrels, 1 in 13 twist barrels, 1 in 14 twist barrels, and 1 in 15 twist barrels.
Wow.
Pretty much, everything that was within the parameters of what should work with the bullet ranges that we were going to work with, the 110 to 150 grain bullet range. And after all that testing, we ended up settling on a 1 in 15 twist with 6 grooves. And with that combination, with the loads we've developed and that barrel configuration, and by the way, we're totally making these barrels in-house. I mean, they're coming in just in a 20-foot stick of bar stock, and we totally produce this barrel in-house, and my barrel guys are so proud of what they've accomplished with it. They should be. We're getting, consistently sub-inch groups with all of our ammo, and some of the best load combinations. We've shot groups as small as .14 at 100 yards, and we've shot lots of sub-half-inch groups in all of our testing. Matter of fact, when we started loading the production ammo, every lot when we set up the machine, that went to the rifle shop, and then Brandon Collier, did accuracy testing on that. And every one of the 7 loads that we've developed, every one of them ended up averaging sub 1 inch. During the testing. Some of them averaged almost, down close to a ½ inch. And that's for like 6 groups, average. So we're very happy with the way the accuracy came out on it. And I think people find that any of the 7 loads shoot anywhere from exceptional to good.
So Bill, in your extensive ammunition lineup, I've noticed that there is a Lehigh defense bullet that is not currently, I guess, available from Lehigh. What can you tell us about this?
Actually, I was at the NRA show, as you were, and visiting with Mike and Justin from Lehigh Defense, and showed them what I'd go into the cartridge. I took some dummy rounds there and some ballistic information to them, some pressure test stuff and things like that, and was visiting with them, and I said, do you have anything that'll work for the cartridge? And they said, no, we really don't, but we can develop something. I'm like kind of taken back, because in this industry, it's hard to get people to collaborate, 2 companies to collaborate and make stuff happen. It doesn't just happen easily, Well, this time it did. It's like, these guys are just so switched on. It's like, no big deal, we'll just make you a bullet. I'm like, okay. And literally 2 or 3 weeks later, a box shows up, and they've developed a bullet specifically for this cartridge. It's optimized for the overall length. It's optimized to take a minimal amount of powder capacity up, and boy, does it do what they advertise it'll do. It's called the Controlled Chaos. And what this bullet does is when it impacts, there's 4 petals on the top here. These 4 petals will peel back and it's basically like a rocket, blowing off a stage of the booster. It basically, the nose comes off and the 4 pieces fly out everywhere, and the base continues on. And so imagine the bullet spinning, those 4 petals come off, and their fragments going everywhere, inside the animal, and the base is just like a flat plug that pushes on through. So you've got basically 5 different wound channels when it happens. And a bonus on this, besides the terminal performance, it's one of the most accurate bullets of all the loads that we load. It's like laser accurate. And so I can't, thank Lehigh enough for, working with us on this. They did a great job on the development of the bullet. Like I say, they got samples to me in no time, and they were right on schedule on the production stuff. We've already got, thousands of rounds loaded with their bullet already, and we have bullets available for sale to hand loaders.
So I've been reading a lot of the 300 HAMR product information stuff that you have written up, and I noticed that it said that you've tested the terminal performance on over 200 feral hogs out here, and I know how much you love to go hog hunting, so I've got to ask, is that an accurate number?
It's 200 and counting. As you know, just like you mentioned, I'm a passionate hog hunter. I hog hunt probably 300 days out of the year, and so I wanted to really prove out the cartridge on the terminal performance side, and so any of the bullets that we're loading that are appropriate for bigger game, I've shot hogs with them and tested the terminal performance on it. And I've been very impressed with what we've came up with, especially with the 130 grain spear hot core. It's amazing how effective that particular load is on hogs. Last deer season, I did almost all my hunting with a 308 with the Hornady 165 SST bullet. And you know, anytime I'm deer hunting, I'm also hog hunting. And so I shot a lot of hogs with it also. And I thought I'd found like the ultimate hog combination. You know, I mean, that 308 and that 165 Hornady SST, I mean, it kills hogs like lightning. And so I started hunting with a 130 spear hot core in the 300 HAMR, and boy, within a few hog kills, I'm like, wow, this works as good as the 308 I've been using. And now, of those 200 plus hogs, more than half of them have been taken with the spear 130 grain hot core. And I can honestly say, I mean, I can't really tell any difference between hunting with this light short rifle in 300 HAMR with that spear hot core bullet and a big heavy 308 with a Hornady 165. In terminal performance, I can't really tell any difference. So I'm really happy the way that worked out.
So which load in your ammunition lineup do you prefer for hunting and why?
Well, like we discussed in the last question there, Mandy, I prefer the 130 hot core for hog hunting. But when it comes like deer season, I think I'm going to be using a lot of the Lehigh Defense 110 Control Chaos bullets, and also the Sierra 125 grain Pro Hunter, because based on the testing we've done, shooting into water, shooting into ballistic gel, shooting into like through a hog and capturing the bullet, we found that on the thinner skin stuff, I think those bullets will be superior because they expand a little bit quicker and give a little more instant shock, you know, when they hit. So kind of my go-to rounds are going to be the Lehigh Defense 110 Control Chaos, the Sierra 125 Pro Hunter, and then the Spear 130 Hot Core is going to be my primary hog hunting choice.
We've talked a lot about hunting, but is that all the 300 HAMR is designed for, or do you have other applications that you believe it could be used for?
I believe the HAMR is a good all-around AR-15 cartridge, and it has a tremendous advantage for like tactical use or home defense, ranch defense, that kind of stuff, compared to some of the other calibers that you can fire in an AR-15. And that's due to the terminal performance. We keep coming back to this, but that's what it does best. You know, basically it's an effective killer. And so based on that, it makes a good choice for home defense and tactical applications. The testing we've done, we have several loads there that perform very well, shooting through, you know, plywood and drywall and metal and different things, you know, and still, you know, after the penetration of that, still performing well. Based on how it performs on animals, we know that it's going to perform well, you know, on a two-legged predator just as well as it would on a four-legged predator. So we think it has broad application, and on top of that, with the superb accuracy as we discussed earlier, I mean, it's a great range cartridge. I mean, for people who like to go out and just shoot tight groups and play with the guns on the range, you know, which is a lot of our customer base. I mean, they're going to be very impressed with the accuracy potential that the cartridge gives. Also, I mean, there's no deficit to ammunition capacity. I mean, the 300 HAMR, you know, has the same capacity as a 5.56. So there's 10, 20, 30 round magazines available for it. And so for the defense and the tactical application, you know, you have 30 round capacity. So you're not giving anything up in magazine capacity like you do with, say, the 6.5 Grendel or the 6.8 SPC.
So you know I have a 5.56 at home. Say I want to convert over to the 300 HAMR. What do I have to do?
Well, the first thing you have to do is have to watch the video that the guys up at the company produced. They did a detailed video on taking a standard 5.56 and doing the barrel change and converting it into a 300 hammer. And so basically it's nothing more than a barrel change and going to a 300 blackout magazine, and now you've got a 300 hammer.
It's awesome.
Yeah, and one other thing, the 300 hammer will work with a 5.56 magazine, but you won't get full capacity, and the reason for that is you're going to have the ribs in the side of the magazine here stick in further on a 5.56 mag, and so the 30 caliber bullet, after you start getting it down to about a half capacity, you start getting a lot of pigeon toeing, of your bullets there, and they start binding up. It'll still function like with 12 rounds in a 20 round 5.56 mags, it'll still work fine. But the way to go is to go with a dedicated 300 blackout magazine, and these are available now from Lancer, from D&H, and also from Magpul. So, 300 dedicated 300 blackout mags work perfect with the 300 hammer cartridge, and they're available in 10, 20, and 30 round capacity.
So we've been talking about how this is such a hard-hitting round, and obviously I'm very interested in changing out my 5.56 into the 300 hammer. But what, with the terminal velocity being what it is, what would the felt recoil change be like if I go from a 5.56 to the 300 hammer? It's
going to be minimal, actually. I'm just going to throw out a number that I just made up, 20% more recoil, something like that. I know, your husband Cody has a 6.8 SBC, and you've shot that. It's going to be very comparable to that 6.8. It's not going to be anything, like a larger caliber, like a 308 or anything like that. It's still going to be a very soft recoiling caliber for you.
We've discussed the cartridge in pretty good depth now, but what rifle models is Wilson Combat going to offer?
We're going to have a pretty good variety, actually. We're going to have a 16-inch version in two configurations. It's going to be called the Ranger. If it's got the collapsible Rogers super stock on it, or if it's got the carbon fiber lightweight stock on it, it's going to be called Ultralight Ranger. And then we have the Tactical Hunter model. That's going to be basically a 18 to 20 inch barrel, your choice. You get 18 or 20, you get it round or fluted, and that'll have the collapsible stock on it. And then we'll have a lightweight version of that, the Lightweight Hunter, and it will also have the 18 or 20 inch barrel choices, but it'll have the carbon fiber lightweight stock on it. And then going to have this model here that we have on the table. This is the new Bill Wilson Ranch rifle. Is configured to be as light as possible. It's got the lightest weight barrel of the models we're going to offer. It's 18 inch, which I feel like is the optimal length for this cartridge. You get really good velocity out of it, but then the rifle still stays pretty short. It's got the lightweight smoke carbon fiber buttstock on it. It's got the lightweight receiver. Basically, we've trimmed every bit of weight that we can trim off of this gun, and then I utilize a lightweight optic on it, and so it makes a very good package if you're going to carry it a long ways. So that's the basic models. We got the Ranger, the Ultralight Ranger, we got the Tactical Hunter, and we got the Lightweight Hunter, and then we got the Bill Wilson Ranch rifle. And finish-wise, it's either a forest camo, as you see here, or a black and green combination, which is what I have on most of my personal rifles.
All right, Bill, you've sold me on the 300 hammer. What support products do you have that I can get also?
First off, like we discussed, there's barrels available. So anybody who wants to convert their AR-15, we've got a wide selection of barrels to choose from. We've got reloading dies by both Lee and RCBS. We've got tons of unprimed brass, brand new shiny unprimed, 300 hammer head stamp cases. We've got case gauge to make sure you're, setting your dies up properly and you're seating your bullet to the proper seating depth. We've got the Lehigh Defense Control Chaos bullets available in boxed form, for hand loading. We have ammunition available from HSM also, in addition to the Wilson Combat ammunition. And Black Hills Ammunition is planning to load a couple of loads for 2019. So quite a bit of ammunition choices that are going to be available.
Bill, I appreciate you sitting down and talking to us about the 300 HAMR project and giving us a real informative look on the 300 HAMR, and I wish you nothing but success.
Thank you, Mandy. And go to our website, check out the 300 HAMR project, and don't just shoot it, hammer it.